And so now we'll look at the top center on the market, Atlanta Falcons, Drew Dalman, former fourth round pick. I believe this is his fourth year in the league. And I'm curious to see if Atlanta makes it a point to bring him back or not, because they do have a lot of money on number 63 here at right guard, Chris Lindstrom, early second round draft pick on number 65, Matt Bergeron, and they've already paid both their offensive tackles. So there might be in a position where they can't just commit that much money to the O-line. We'll see. But Lindstrom is probably going to be getting a pretty nice payday this period, just because he's the top center in the league, and it really shows in his run blocking, or the top available center in the league.
Yeah, for Dalman here. And this is a nice play. I mean, it's Q, like you and I have talked about previously on some of these film room shows. Center in the NFL is just, it's not, they're asked to do so many things. These guys are not built like Olin Kreutz of yesteryear, or, or even a Roberto Garza of yesteryear. These guys have to be somewhat athletic. They're probably a little bit smaller than people would wish they were. So a good center is A, super rare, and B, to your point, Q, like they're not going to be perfect, but it's probably an upgrade over a Coleman Shelton at this point. But does a center justify, however much money? Because to your point, the really good and great centers in the league, a lot of those guys were drafted by their teams, right? Creed Humphrey, for example, by the Kansas City Chiefs. So sometimes you have to go and get those guys via the draft, but when one of them comes around like this, in a guy like Dalman, you certainly at least have to look into it and think about it and weigh the options of whether or not that's a position you want to commit some money to.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, there were only a handful of centers in the league that I'd trust to play offensive guard. Creed Humphrey, Frank Ragnow, Juice Scruggs to an extent, and Jackson Powers Johnson. Like those are the only four guys I think have the feet and the power to play offensive guard in the league. Most other guys, they have one or the other.
Right.
And he definitely fits in has the feet, doesn't have the power. Like, and he plays with good technique, and that helps, but he does fall into the same category as a Coleman Shelton of like, he's gonna be overpowered at times, but what can he make up for you in other ways?
Definitely. And that was a great reach block.
This one is even better. Like, I love this. That swivel of hips is just gorgeous.
Yeah, and that's perfect. I mean, that's the exact type of blocks you're looking for out of your center, right? I mean, there's a reason that a lot of centers don't pull in the league, and it's just because if they are pulling, right, it's on like a screen or something like that. You get them involved that way. But I mean, this is perfect. He doesn't have to drive the guy downfield, especially if you're running an outside zone like this. Just get in the run lane and hook the guy. And this is between him and Lindstrom. And again, I mean, he's got a legit guard playing next to him, which certainly helps.
All pro.
But this is a really nice block from Dalman here.
Yeah. That's one thing I can't understand. Like, that's something that makes me nervous about the potential of giving Dalman big money. Chris Lindstrom has 97, knocked way off balance. Like, Chris Lindstrom has done a lot of the work here. Absolutely. Dalman does his job very well, but how much of that is a result of Lindstrom knocking the crap out of him? That's where I start to get questions about giving big money to Drew Dalman, which I'm not saying you shouldn't do. I'm just saying I think it's a legitimate question.
Yeah, it's definitely an internal argument that needs to be had in that war room of, is this a guy we're ready to commit money to in that aspect?
And again, here you see Bergeron really riding that block down and getting it set up in a position for Lindstrom to take it over. I like what Lindstrom does a lot. It just muddies the water for me of like, Lindstrom gets pushed into the run lane. Once he does get in there, that's where I start to have some more questions again. Like, if he doesn't have Matt Bergeron and Chris Lindstrom flanking him, how does he look? Maybe he looks fine. Maybe the Bears have better guards than that. Maybe they have equal guards to that next year, and it's not a big deal. But that the dollar amount is going to be big for me when it comes to Drew Dalman.
100%. I think you want Lindstrom because I think you keep calling Dalman Lindstrom. I think your subconscious is telling you we need Chris Lindstrom in the building.
That might be true.
That might be
Chris
it.
Lindstrom in the building.
Yeah, he would look great. But yeah, you're right. I mean, on that last block, like that's a perfect example. You watch him get overpowered by a really, good. Again, these are good D tackles that
And that's probably Jalen Carter he's going against. So that's no small job, but
yeah.
there are dudes.
I think Carter's the backside because I think Carter wears 98.
That's Jordan Davis.
So that's Jordan Davis, which is just as big of a challenge, if not bigger, because Davis is just physically bigger. That's a hard assignment to have as a center, and in this case, I mean, he gets worked. I mean, it's a good block initially, but right to your point, once he's on his own, I mean, Jordan Davis gives him the business.
Yeah. All right, let's see what we got up next here. There are a lot of outside zone runs in this because Atlanta runs a lot of outside zone, and he's an ideal outside zone center. That's
sure is
what he thrives at. Again, you see Lindstrom helping a lot there, but Dalman does a good job.
Yep. And again, to your point, Q, you've talked about it time and time again. You include it in every one of your offensive line analysis articles. It's a unit, right? Like these guys work together. You need to be able to combo block. You still need a center that understands body positioning and where he needs to be and can he get to his spot. Yeah, it helps when he's got Chris Lindstrom helping push on Jalen Carter here, but he's able to ride. He knows exactly where he needs to be. He knows when Lindstrom is starting to peel off to the linebacker. And when that happens, he's able to head adjust and he does a nice job getting in front of Carter here. And then it's just a really nice play by Algier to see that backside run lane where knowing that Carter is probably not going to be able to make that play, obviously it's another Eagle making the tackle, but that's really well done.
And then Darren, no Alaric Jackson in this one. We got some Kevin Zeitler coming up after this, but we only got the 3 guys today. Maybe we'll get some Alaric Jackson in the future, but we will see about that. And to your point, Ron, I think that's something Dalman does an excellent job of, is understanding of space, angles, body position, and flexibility to get into those body positions that he needs to be in.
Yeah, and he's still a big guy. I mean, 6'3", 305 is pretty legitimate for an NFL center. I mean, Coleman Shelton is not 300 pounds, for example. So, he still has some good size to him. He's still going to be able to move some guys. This is just one of those games where you're playing probably 2 of the best defensive tackles in football, in Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. So it's not an easy test, but I think that further highlights why he's probably going to get big money on this market because he has shown those flashes and he's shown that if he's playing with an at least strong guard next to him, he's going to be able to do a lot of good things in your offense.
So the results here weren't great, but I still gave him a plus on this one. I really liked the way he played this rep. I liked how wide he was able to get Carter here with that push. Hands a little high, but when you get that much push, I'm not going to complain. And then I think he does a nice job cutting off 17 here. The run kind of got delayed on him, got a little slow, and he ends up kind of in no man's land, but I can't put that on him. Like that's what happened behind him.
Jordan Davis is making the play against Bergeron really in this instance, but I agree with you. I think really good hand placement. Like you said, it might be a little bit high. It's more on the rib than it is on the hip, but he still gets that movement as if he's pushing along Carter's hip. Lindstrom's able to head adjust as well and get in front of Carter. And then to your point, he's kind of just in no man's land because Nakobe Dean's just kind of sitting there and trying to read the play and figure out what to do. You maybe would wish that he'd be a little more aggressive, but again, at the end of the day, I agree. I don't really fault him for anything on this play. The first mentality on that highlight is sensational from Dalton.
Yeah. Now let's see how this one goes. Up against Vance Morrow, Jomo, and he just very nicely done. And one thing I noticed in his tape that I really like, he's very sticky. This guy's got grip strength for days, and that's something I really liked. And that really stood out to me of like, he might get overpowered at times, but good luck getting him unlatched from you because he has vice grips.
Yeah, and this is a really nice play. Run him, and he's got him just enough backside to force him to almost kind of overcommit to the play. And then again, when you have an athlete like Bijan Robinson in the backfield, that certainly helps as well, setting up blocks for himself.
And again, that flag was not on him.
No holds.
This is what I was talking about with the grip strength. He's getting whipped around here, but like he's like a fly flying around him that's just annoying as hell. Like
Mhm.
you can't get rid of him.
Hey, I mean, the greatest of bull riders get flipped around and moved around, but as
Right.
long as you hang on and you stay on the bull, you're good, and that's what happens here. I
Hey, it's a
mean,
great rep from him. Like, I mean,
it is a great
he's
rep,
getting whipped
and
around
it's
a little bit. He's doing his job at a high level.
and I think to add on to that too, he's getting whipped around, but this is a drill that is practiced in for offensive linemen. Like you have a teammate who is just push, rip, pull you, and it's all about that grip strength and being able to walk and mirror while you're being whipped around. And that's what he does here. He's getting whipped around, but he's able to swivel the hips. He's able to sink into his anchor. He's able to reposition his body and get back in front of his target and not get caught in no man's land with a hand out here and on a hold. That's just as much of a skill as it is kind of getting on the bull and getting whipped around here. Again, good rep. And again, it's the technique. I think he's got a far better anchor than, for example, like a Coleman Shelton.
Mm-hmm.
You might not always see it, but I mean, that is a really good rep too, because this is also an instance where he's very clearly trustable as a solo block.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is no, hey,
at
you got
least
to go
against
help
a three tech like Moro Ojomo. Like it's
exactly. Like, hey, we trust you to be able to handle this, especially on a passing down, right? This is a passing down.
Yeah.
You can tell by the personnel the Eagles are trotting out there. It's not Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. You can trust him one-on-one against a smaller defensive tackle. That's exactly what happens here. And that's great because then you were able to free up guys like Lindstrom and guys like Bergeron to go help then on your tackles if need be. And, I mean, Kirk's got all day to throw the football and delivers a really nice throw to Ray McLeod there over the middle.
Oh, good name, Paul. I was just wondering who that was.
34. He wears a really weird number for Atlanta. It's kind of fun.
Wonder if you grew up a Walter Payton fan.
Maybe.
Again, this is nice. It's not, he doesn't, yeah. I just like the angle that he gets here and his understanding of space. I like his hand placement. He's just able to move the guy where he wants to be. I think that Jalen Carter is going to beat guys sometimes. But I liked the process here from Lindstrom a lot. Like I thought technically I could say he might have been beat there if Jalen Carter gets that grip. But the process is very clean here to me, and I give a good rep here, even though it was that close, just because the process was right in my mind.
And Dalman knows there is no help coming. He knows that Bergeron is going up to the next level. He knows he's one-on-one with Carter in this rep, and because of that. He knows, okay, I got to hook this guy or I got to run him. And as soon as your D tackle starts to kind of leak behind you like that, you can turn to the play and just try to ride him backwards. And that's exactly what it is here. You see the hand on the hip. You see him just try to ride Carter just away from Bijan. Just give your running back a chance to make a play. And I mean, the whole happens. You see it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good hands from Dalman. And it's the hands that save him because if he doesn't have those hands, I bet you Jalen Carter gets more of a paw on Bijan in this play. And instead of almost 10-yard gain, or probably actually more now than a 10-yard gain, that might have been a negative play.
Yeah. Jordan Davis just overpowers him on this one. And this is where I was saying, he is in the Coleman Shelton category, right?
Sure.
He's not going to take on Jordan Davis one-on-one very successfully very often.
I mean, in fairness, I don't think there's a lot of offensive linemen in the NFL that are going to take Jordan Davis on one-on-one very often and be uber successful.
Right.
I mean, looking at
where I was saying earlier, he's not Creed Humphrey. He's not Frank Ragnow, where they can play power on power. Yeah. That's not his game. So if we're talking about Ben Johnson, who wants to run such a multiple run scheme that you need a power center, I'm not sure Dalman fits. But if we're willing to get more outside zone, more horizontal run game, Dalman could be a great fit. It's just a question of what the next Bears head coach really wants to do with the offense.
And that might be a great example, Q, of then maybe that's where they target in the draft. Maybe a center is a priority for the Bears. Maybe that's a guy that right now they don't have a third-round pick. Obviously, they could get a third-round pick if Ian Cunningham gets hired because of the new rules that have been in place with hires and things like that in the NFL. But maybe you do trade back into the third round, for example, right? Or pardon me, you have a third-round pick. Maybe they trade into the fourth round or something with one of those fives. if they do really like a center that's there, that maybe, like you said, right, if it is a Ben Johnson, plays with more of that power scheme. So agree with you, right? I think right now we're all kind of wondering what if. I think in the next 2 weeks, we're going to have a better idea of, is Dalman a realistic target for the Bears, given who their head coaching hire is and potentially who their OC is? Because, right, we know Ben Johnson comes in, he's the play caller, but if a Mike Vrabel or a Brian Flores comes in, they have an OC they need to pick, and that's going to probably generate a lot of discussion too then on what the Bears want to do offensively.
So on this, I did like his recovery here to get back at, like, recognize 19 and say, okay, I got to get back here. But this is where, like, the anchor, he's not in a great position, and his inability to like be like Trey Smith, we were saying, to generate that power from an awkward position is just not really there, and he gets blocked. But again, it's the style of center you got. You have one or two options most of the time in the league.
Yeah, and I really like, especially too, because I believe that's Sweat that he's going against. I think Sweat wears 19 for the Eagles. I mean, that's a top-notch pass rusher too, coming on a loop like that. Being able to walk back into him, obviously he gets walked back a little bit, but overall, though, you like the positioning that he takes. You can see the fight. It's not just getting absolutely walked. He's getting into his anchor. You know, he's trying to fight the hand placement. Again, I think, like you said, Q, the process here is good. Sure, maybe the result's not exactly what you want, but you'll take good process a day in and day out, because more often than not, that's going to result in good reps.
Yeah. And then, Ron, we got a question from Darren here, and no dumb questions. Oh, there's plenty of questions about O-line that no one ever asks. So anyone asking an O-line question is always a good question.
Agreed.
I know a good right tackle may not ever be a decent left tackle, but can a quality left tackle have a hard time playing the right side?
Yes, absolutely. Not every guy is good at playing both sides of the field. When you have guys that can play both sides of the field, i.e. a Tristan Wirfs, who went from right tackle to left tackle for the Bucs, that's rare. Those guys are not always, it's not like, oh, you play tackle so you can play both sides. No. A lot of times it's not that way. A lot of times it is, you're either a right tackle or you're a left tackle. That's why it's so hard to find a good swing tackle, because it's hard to play both sides. It was something that I admittedly took pride in when I played. I played both sides of the line at all positions. I played both guards, both tackles. I played center. Not a lot of guys can do that, because some of it is knowing the playbook really well. And some of it is just, sometimes you're more comfortable. I was always more comfortable in a right side drop as a right tackle than I was in a left side drop as a left tackle. And, was I better at one or the other? Probably not. I was probably equivalent at each. But there's absolutely instances where guys, if you were to take, hypothetically speaking, Braxton Jones and put him on the right side, I bet you he would not be nearly what he is. I think Darnell Wright would be the same way.
So I will say, one thing with this question that I want to point out, I think a right tackle is just as likely to move to the left side as a left to the right side. Like, I think you're talking the same thing. It's like Darnell Wright, I think, is the best tackle on the Bears. I think Darnell Wright he played left tackle before. He played left tackle in college, and then moved to and then he played, or in high school. I'm sorry, in high school, but stayed at right in college. Side. So he has that muscle memory in him, but he was never as good on the left side. I think he did play some college on the left side and wasn't as good there. So some guys can do it more easily than others. Some guys experience, like Zach Tom with the Packers. Zach Tom, coming out of college, played every position on the O-line. Something that, I think that's something I value when I look at draft prospects. What have they played? What are they comfortable doing? Where can you plug them in and just say he'll be okay? I do think that is something that I put value on. And Braxton has only played left tackle since the start of college. I'm not sure he's a guy you want to move to the right side.
Yeah. And not to say that there aren't tackles like what Tristan Wirfs did, right? Where he was a right tackle for a long time, and then in the off season made the move to left. Then you get those reps in during camp and things like that. Like, a truly athletic tackle, if he's good enough, will be able to play both sides. But if you're just saying like in the middle of the game, if you flip the guy to the other side, there's a very good chance he's not going to be as good because, like you said, Q, it is that muscle memory when you play one side versus another because the technique is flipped. Like your left tackle technique is the same as the right tackle technique, but obviously it's opposites. And sometimes that will trip guys up mentally as they go into get ready for a block.
There's the famous saying, it's wiping your ass with the other hand. Like, if you're not used to using your left hand, it gets real weird real fast.
It does get real weird real fast. Agreed. It does.
All right, this one, he gets a little surprised by the stunt from Ojomo here and just knocked out of the play, essentially. Like, they run it beautifully on him and just gets beat. And like I said, I just graded the positive and negative plays, included both, and this one was one of the negatives.
Nice ball by Kirko Chains to hit our boy Darnell Mooney.
This play is awesome. Just watch the rest of it.
That's our sweet prince.
I know. I'm so sad he's gone.
I know. Good for Darnell though. He's getting paid a lot of money and actually getting used quite a bit in Atlanta, so it's nice to see.
Interesting comment here. I didn't realize John Tate played right tackle before he got to the Bears, or was really ever an All-Pro. I love John Tate. That was the guy I looked up to on those Bears teams. I was like, I want to play O-line. I want to be like John Tate. But I didn't realize he was better on the right than the left. I just knew he was awesome on the left for the Bears.
Yeah, he was really good. I do recall that he was really good in Kansas City on the right side. He played a little bit of left in Kansas City too, before coming to Chicago, obviously. But yeah. In 2000, 2001, he was predominantly a left tackle. 2002 through 2004, his first year with the Bears, he was actually a right tackle, and then they moved him to the left side out of necessity. And then actually in his last year, I do kind of recall that with the Bears, he did move to the right tackle side in 2008. So,
all right, we got one here where Lindstrom gets a little beat, and Dalman doesn't get any help to the right side. Then from this, it just kind of open. I mean, really, I think this is a beautiful job by Vic Fangio and the Eagles to rip this thing open and say, okay, we're going to open this lane for whoever is Jordan Davis to come rip over to his left here and have a wide open area to work. And Dalman just can't quite contain him. And that's, again, it's where I say, like, you don't expect your center to be able to do that. No. It's just kind of a spot where you go, yeah, it's going to be a loss there because our center is a finesse center, not a power center. If he was a power center, he might not even be able to do it because there's a lot of lateral movement going on there. And if he could move like that, he wouldn't be playing center.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. And again, it's still a decent rep. I mean, Kirk's able to still get a throwaway, obviously a little bit under duress, but to your point as well, I mean, you got to give flowers to Vic Fangio too, and how he has used this Eagles defense to really kind of take them to another level. I feel like this is the most effective that Eagles defense has been in a long time.
Yeah, it was just a gorgeous. I really liked this blitz from them. I thought it was really well executed. Where like you have the linebacker getting the hand on Dalman to kind of force him upfield or up towards the hashes, and then Davis ripping around because Davis is just a freak of nature.
Yeah, and that hand on the hip like that too also forces Dalman's hips to get out of position, which allows an easier path for Davis coming on the backside like that. So, like you said, it's clearly designed that way to help free up a guy like Jordan Davis. There's a reason. Not every blitz has the intention of always finding home. Sometimes they're to set up other things on the rush.
That blitzer's job is to fly by Lindstrom and get those hands on Dalman. This is a blitz designed to get one of Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis home.
Yep, and damn near does.
This one was nice from him. I liked that.
That's
the
really
aggressive
nice.
hands and the just maintaining that position. Again, a little help from Lindstrom here, but like I liked this rep from him. It just seemed he attacked the player. And I always say what pass pro is not passive. This is a rep that I thought represented that pretty well.
Be the aggressor. I also like the head on a swivel too, always looking to help. Just overall good movement, good aggression. You love him following the play as well. That's just a football guy. It's a good rep from Dalman.
This is another one where I like those quick hands.
Punish the jumper.
like see him punish the jumper a little more, but I'll take this rep over and over when he's getting that early punch in and maintaining good leverage, good bend at the point of attack, and just washing it. There was washing it downfield for the most part.
Q, we got a fun question here in the comment section. This is from our boy Bear Truth 9 here. He says, "Why don't you see more guards transition to center?"
I wish I had a good answer for this that wasn't just money. Guards get paid more.
Some of it is also very much skill set. I will say center is a very different position than guard. I know it probably doesn't sound like it is, but a lot of people also need to remember center is also a very intellectual position on the offensive line. In most offenses, especially at the NFL level, the center is aiding and calling the protection.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, and for anybody that wants to hear more like football nerdyism, another great person to listen to is Cam Newton. And the way he talks through like the pre-snap and everything like that, he might identify the mic knowing where he wants the pro to go, but then it's on the center to help identify, okay, we're working here. You two got this stack. You two got this stack. We're working this way. You're lock on that side. Here, I'm slide. That's all a part of what the center does. So for a lot of guys, like that's why the whole rookie center narrative is like very taboo, because there's a lot of intellectual need from the center position at the NFL level. I think that's some of it. And some guys too, if you're nasty, like if you are a Quentin Nelson level nasty, you are better suited to play guard because it's a position that allows you to use that nastiness more practically, where I think at center, you don't get to use that as much. Jason Kelsey's a perfect example. When's the last time you saw Jason Kelsey have tons of those big, blowing guys up blocks? He's getting in good position and he's running with guys because he was an athlete. But he was nasty, but he wasn't the same level of nasty as like a Quentin Nelson is, for example. Yeah. So that could be why some of it is. But agree with you, Q, money is a huge reason.
To another degree as well. Matt Bergeron, college offensive tackle.
Yep.
Chris Lindstrom, college guard who played some offensive tackle. Mm-hmm. So many guards in the NFL. We look at the Bears, Tevin Jenkins, Matt Pryor,
former
both offensive tackles.
Mm-hmm.
Most guards in the NFL were offensive tackles in college because most of the best linemen in the country
play tackle.
And then when they get to the NFL, they realize they can't play tackle there and they kick inside to guard.
Mm-hmm.
Because their skill set makes more sense for guard at the NFL level because their feet aren't as fast. They don't play as well on the island. They can't do the hardest of the hard well. So they transition into guard where their power plays better. So those guys are usually a bit slower feet, more power players.
Definitely.
The question then becomes, well, can you see college guards kick inside to center? But a lot of college guards are about equal to some of the centers who make the league. I would say from a blocking standpoint, from a power standpoint, or they're just too slow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like there are so many guys in the draft every year who it's like, man, this guy is a brick shit house, right? Like he is strong as hell. No one can get through him, but he can't move his feet. And it's like, at that point, you're just talking the power centers in the league. You're talking about Bradley Bozeman, right? Like that's what Bradley Bozeman is. He can't move, but he can snap. And then you're talking about at center, you want guys who have snapped the football their whole life. And like you said, thought through the process of calling out the blocking assignments, getting everyone in line, taking on that leadership role on the offensive line their whole life. I think that's, to your point, a big part of why you don't see more guys transition to center.
As somebody who struggled with shotgun snapping when I first did it, that's 100% real. Like, everybody thinks snapping a football is super easy. It's not as easy as you think it is, especially when you have a 300-pound defensive
tried to figure it out for 8 years.
Right? Yeah, and never did. Right, and never did.
Cody was really good. Mm-hmm. Like everyone wants to crap on Cody for his last year with the Bears. He was really good for 7 years before that. Like let's not get our words mixed up here. But he never got the snapping completely down.
No, he always even mildly always struggled with the snapping.
This one here, they run a stun at him, and again, he's just a little slow to get that anchor down. this is where I said, like, there's some Coleman Shelton in here of like he doesn't get obliterated as much as Shelton, but it's you can see the shades of it where if he's not in a perfect position to pick up that stunt, he's getting walked. Like,
yeah.
So it would be an upgrade over Shelton without a doubt. But
then you have to
see some
quantify
similar issues.
Yeah, then you have to quantify is what the dollar value is going to cost worth the upgrade over a Coleman Shelton,
Right.
especially if you maybe think there's a center you like in the draft a little bit later, where maybe it's Coleman Shelton for one more year, but you upgrade the guard positions around Shelton that could potentially help him in the long term with a guy like a Trey Smith or somebody who we're going to talk about here a little bit after here in the show, and Kevin Zeitler.
And then this one, it's not punish jumpers, but limit jumpers at least. I like this.
You'll take that too. Yeah.
You're just hooking on to and saying you're not getting up there to block it. Like that's something with Caleb Williams, a quarterback that I really care about.
Yeah.
I want to see you, if you're not punishing jumpers, at least limit them, because that Caleb is a shorter quarterback. Especially with the way, like I think he measured it like 6.5 inches or something. He plays shorter than he is even. Like his posture in the pocket just isn't part of his skill, and part of his ability to be the greased up deaf guy is his ability to get small and stay small and be hard to find.
True.
And I think that makes it a little harder in the pocket for him when guys aren't limiting jumpers and are, Matt Pryor's size in front of him.
Definitely.
But so that's the full game of highlights for him. I have a half of Chris Lindstrom or of Kevin Zeitler.
I'm telling you, I know you want Chris Lindstrom, Q. I know you.
I know. I mean, don't we all, man? Like Chris Lindstrom would be sweet.